Today, we're going to learn about anaphora. So what exactly is anaphora? Anaphora is the deliberate repetition of words or phrases at the beginning of several successive clauses, verses, or paragraphs. For example, I walked to my car. I walked the dog. I walked to school. I walked home. I walked to my bed. This is anaphora because you are repeating the same phrase several times at the beginning of separate sentences. Let's look at some examples. Some examples I've come up with are, he didn't speak, he didn't stand, he didn't even acknowledge our presence when we came in. This exemplifies anaphora because it uses the same he didn't at the beginning of each consecutive sentence. The second example is, they needed to train, they needed to practice, they needed to win. This is also an example of anaphora because the two same words at the beginning of the sentence are used, they needed to, at the beginning of each sentence. Here are some examples in literary texts that we've studied so far this year. Both of my examples come from The Glass Castle. My first example is, they might not notice I was missing. They might decide it wasn't worth the drive to come back and retrieve me. This is on page 62 of The Glass Castle, and it occurs when Jeanette is tossed from her car and her parents don't come back for a decently long amount of time, having her wonder, will they ever come back? My second example is where the teams moved and where the wheels mill. Using where the repetitively on page 2 helps open the story and have readers understand the background a little better. Now let's look at some real-world examples. My first example is Mad World, Mad Kings, Mad Composition. This is said by William Shakespeare in King John, Act 2. My second example is One People, One Empire, One Leader, said by Adolf Hitler in order to rally people around him. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned a little more about anaphora.